Hey guys, Monty Gaming here with a quick summary of the 1.1 patch notes for Crusader Kings 3. There was a very extensive list of notes on the Paradox forums, but I tried to pick out the 10 most important changes that I think you'll notice on your next playthrough. Of course, if I've missed anything important, just let me know. A quick note regarding your current saves. It is stated that your current saved games should still work on the newest patch, though you may experience weird results. It's recommended that you start a new game unless you're deep into a playthrough. In any case, here's my TLDR. Tribal Reformation is back. Previously, converting your government to feudal had raised all of your holding structures, as these buildings were tribal and thus invalid. Now, per the notes, these should be replaced by a random eligible building. I'm happy with this change, as it was generally accepted that you should only change to feudal early in your playthrough, as losing every tribal holding without replacement was a huge setback, and this would have scaled with your realm size. Although I've not tested any of this yet, there seems to be a lot of notes that indicate some sort of improved decision making from the AI in terms of combat. This should make for more strategic battles, but also will hopefully solve the problem of your dumb allies dancing around between counties instead of helping. All in all, assuming the AI is a bit smarter about battles, this is a very good thing. The most impactful change, in my opinion, appears to be how they're handling calls to arm. This change appears to be a huge nerf to having alliances, as now when your ally calls you to war, there are severe penalties associated with declining. The penalties include a loss of fame and a negative opinion modifier from the allied ruler. Now, although I do agree alliances were pretty overpowered, I'm sure this still isn't the correct solution. It just seems counterintuitive to feel like the optimal play is marrying off a ruler's child to a lowborn spouse to avoid being pulled into the AI's endless slew of meaningless wars. This makes me think non-aggression packs might have their place in CK3. In any case, I'm excited to see how this plays out. The patch notes indicate some changes that make rulers more likely to agree to white peace when wars get drawn out or could severely impact their economy. This will hopefully lend to shorter wars for the AI, which will be very important now that you might be agreeing to partake in more of them. The diplomacy opinion modifier is now cut in half. Another well-accepted notion was that diplomacy was overpowered in terms of vassal opinion. Agreeably so, as I've played rulers with high diplomacy scores as tyrants and still managed to keep a positive opinion score with all my vassals. Changes like this are always welcomed, as in my opinion, managing opinions has always been core to this game. There were some pretty nice changes to the action Ask to Take Vows, as these changes will be especially useful in the partition successions. This action will now allow you to effectively disinherit heirs that are in line to some of your titles. Given this is now a means of removing claimants, it also appears to be balanced by a 10-year cooldown and some piety costs. This should help with some of the succession headaches that we've been dealing with so far. Although not super impactful, seduction and adultery have been running wild in the last build, and the patch notes indicate that further modifiers are now considered before an AI is willing to cheat on their spouse. Again, not that important, but something you'll definitely notice in your next playthrough. Another thing you'll likely notice, heresies will no longer be unrealistically scattered everywhere, as AIs will be smarter about dealing with these. Since refusing religious conversions would make a vassal a criminal, the AI are now more likely to accept conversion requests. Abductions against rulers and characters in foreign realms are now much more difficult to achieve. The notes also mention that targets of war are going to be almost impossible to kill or abduct. This would effectively negate the cheesy strategy of declaring war and abducting said ruler for instant victory. Some may now argue that intrigue is no longer useful, but I'll have to play it to see if I agree with that. And finally, now holding more than the domain limit for longer than the 1-year grace period results in an increasing penalty that should effectively discourage hoarding titles. There was a popular strategy dubbed North Korea, where a ruler would hold all titles in the realm, and at some point these penalties were negated by the sheer number of holdings. Clearly, this was not the game's intent. All in all, I'm very happy with this update. They've adjusted things to correct some of the unintended consequences, such as the AI's rampant seduction, but they also got rid of some of the cheesy exploits that were clearly way too powerful. Thanks for listening. I hope this summary had proved helpful in some way. I encourage you to check out some of my other CK3 guides and consider liking or subscribing to the channel, as I intend to produce more content in the future. In any case, I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.